Welcome to this episode of Hardman Talks. I'm Keith Hiscock, CEO of Hardman & Co, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Jason Sayers, Chief Executive of Filta PLC. It's great to have you on the channel, Jason.
Hi Keith, nice to be here, thank you.
So we're here to talk about the company's half-year report for the 6 months to the 30th of June 2021. But before we do, Jason, would you like to give us a short introduction to the business for anyone who is new to the story?
Okay, well, thanks for that. And really, I started the business in the UK in the late 90s when I came up with the idea for Filta Fry, a fryer management business. We expanded this through franchising in the UK, but the obvious market for our service was the States. They fry everywhere over here. So I moved out here in 2003 with my business partner to grow the business here. So we now operate in the US, UK and Germany. We have two primary businesses. That's Filta Fry, the cooking oil filtration and fryer management business, and a grease management business that we have in the UK. We service well over 7,000 commercial kitchens every single week, and we deliver the fryer management service through a network of 189 franchise owners who pay us monthly royalties and fees. And we deliver the other kitchen services through 50 corporately owned vans in the UK. Both provide us with very fixed repeat revenues for our business, and historical and future growth comes in a small part from new franchise owners coming on board, but most importantly, our existing franchise owners expanding, and then our company operation business expanding as well. Looking at the different services we have, let me explain what we do. Everything we do is focused on high margin recurring revenue from that same customer base, commercial kitchens. So for Filta Fry, the problems in the kitchen include high oil usage, poor quality food, hot oil accidents, slips, falls and burns, and insurance claims. With Filta Fry, we solve all these issues. We come in on a weekly, once, twice, 3 times a week basis, come in, suck the oil out of the fryers, the machine filters the oil, we clean the fryers, we then pump the oil back in so they can reuse it. At the end of its life, we take the oil away and it's made into biodiesel. The cost for the customer is really recouped in oil savings, and then the competition primarily is the in-house employees doing it themselves. So we have 468 trucks on the road performing this service primarily in North America. The other prime service we have is Filta Fog, a fats, oil and grease management. So washing up dishwashers, floor cleaning carries a lot of fats, oil and grease down the drain. This leads to block drains for the customers and fatbergs, which I'm sure people have heard about, blocking the main sewers permanently. So what we do, we install what's called Grease Recovery Units, GRUs, under the sinks that separate oil and water before it goes down the drain. We have the best performing equipment on the market. We then sign contracts to clean and maintain this equipment monthly or quarterly, providing us with repeat revenues. And the whole design of it is to keep customers compliant with the ever-increasing water authority enforcement. Really, they're the key services that we have.
Thank you. Thanks, Jason. Now, given the trades in which your customers operate, last year must have been pretty awful. The half-year report is pointing to an improving position. Can you give us your view about how the return to normality is going to look by territory and by business line, where the opportunities and the risks might be? For example, I know US colleges is quite a good source of business for you. Are they getting back to normality? So I'd just like to get a sort of sense of how you see the roadmap going forward from here.
So you're right to look at it by the different geographies we're in. They're recovering at different paces. So the first stage, yes, the industry's been hit hard by COVID. It really was. Aside from probably airlines, hospitality's been hit hard. In the US, let's take the US to start with, which is where we have the franchise network. Obviously, last year we had lockdowns for 3 months solid, and then we came out of it. And it depends on where you were in the US as to how quickly it came back. Restaurants came back quickly because they sort of migrated to delivery services, etc. So we got those back pretty quickly. But the bigger stuff we have, stadiums, universities, all didn't come back quickly. Then you look at the different areas. I live in Florida here. We opened completely from September onwards. We're 100% open. And yet other states, California, etc., completely locked down. So it depends on where you are in the country. Overall, we saw it coming back towards the end of last year. We then sort of saw the green shoots in Jan, Feb picking up here, and it's accelerated quicker than we thought in the US, to the extent where by the end of the first half, we were back to 100% of pre-COVID run rates, and we still had our bigger customers to come back. So we added around 1,000 sites during COVID. We got our sales team on the phones getting new sites, which were good to help our franchisees get work. But now we're in the position where, you asked about universities. We service over 300 universities in the US. They're coming back now, last week, this week, they're back in the States. So we are back to, our biggest problem we have is getting enough staff to service them. And, we're back to completely pre-COVID levels. The cooking oil price has doubled in the US in the last year. So demand for our services is high. And as much as we're finding it difficult to get good employees out there, so are our customers. So the demand for our service has gone through the roof. Need to have us back in there. The bottleneck for us is us getting enough good techs right now. So good. The picture in the States, very good, and it's back. And I think the general attitude in the States is we're back. The Delta variant took its toll more recently, but the attitude is we're back. It's open. We're not going to shut again. If people are unvaccinated, they might get ill, but the rest of the world gets on with it. Flipping to the other side, back in the UK, had much stronger lockdowns through the whole period, government-led, and obviously really opened up April time, May time for us. We had focused on, at the beginning of COVID, we focused on cash management, and we focused on, let's look at customers that may well do okay during COVID. And that was fast food, supermarkets, knowing that our two biggest customers in the UK, Mitchell & Butlers and Green King pub chains, were going to be shut. So we did quite well engaging with those. We've signed new customers, for example, KFC, and we've just installed our first 23 units at Asda's. We didn't have those accounts before. But really, it really only started to really come back fully towards the end of the first half there. And still, as much as these new customers are giving us growth, the big pub chains have struggled during COVID, and they are coming back bit by bit, come back decently, but still have to top off the revenue for us. So we're still not quite back in the UK to pre-COVID revenues. However, we have adapted the business model there, lower cost base, etc., in that is actually performing pretty well for us. We're expecting it to be fully back by the end of this year. Europe, but only a small piece for us. Germany and Austria in particular, is a franchise business over there, and we were very early days. So selling franchises is how you grow there to start with, because we don't have a big franchise base right now. We had about 15 franchise owners. Obviously, nobody's going to buy a franchise in our industry whilst it was shut. So it was tricky for us, and we kept costs low over there. Pleased to say, August just last month, is the first month all of our franchisees in Germany have now got a decent amount of work back, and franchise sales are now popping again. And one of the things we've done there is we've installed a handful of the new Cyclone GRUs in Germany to a handful of customers to introduce it there, a couple of which are McDonald's, who we have in the UK. So starting to roll there. So I think market by market, some have accelerated quicker than others, but really overall, we expect by the end of the year it to be fully back for us in every market.
That's great. Now, I think what's quite noticeable about the statement also is that even though you've been through some trying times, you're talking about growth. You're talking about your first franchise in France, 8 new franchise sales, 13 new mobile filtration units, and use a bit of jargon there, the first Cyclone Grease Recovery Units coming through. So that suggests that the period of kind of battening down the hatches and just surviving amongst your customers is over, and it's back to growth as normal. Is that a fair interpretation, or am I being too generous?
No, I think that's fair. In fact, it's taken us by surprise, particularly in the US that was accelerating quickly, how quickly it did come back. And we produce our filtration machines. They're actually manufactured in the UK still, in Harrogate, by the original company that made them for us. So we order from there. In February, we turned the tap back on to manufacturing those. And like most things in the world right now, there was a lag time. The prices have gone up for stainless steel, etc. So we had to fly those 13 machines over, or 15 machines, And there is pent up demand. I mean, in August we deliver 11 more machines. So things have really hotted up over there. Took us by surprise a little bit, but I would say it's the next few months is all about catching up with demand. We haven't got enough capacity to service over there, and we have a great inside sales department ready to turn the tap on to grow in the business in the US. We can't do it yet. We're just literally trying to keep up with the demand we have and get those techs back on the vans, because it's tricky. That employment market in the States is tough right now. The UK has picked back up, and I think the market's picking back up in the UK. But I think the real driver there has been the work we put in during COVID into the other types of customers, the supermarkets and the fast food, has paid dividends for us in getting those new customers. One thing that's happened during COVID there is we got really close with our customers. We're helping chains, for example, Costa Coffee, Tesco's, Asda, M&B. We're helping them solve issues they have within their business, not just directly related to the GRUs, the Grease Recovery Units, but around that a little bit. We're helping them solve problems. So to get that close to your customers has been good, and we're seeing the benefits of that. So I think it's a couple of different reasons why we're positive about the future, but we are pretty strong. We're in pretty strong growth mode right now.
Okay, that's great. Now let's turn to the numbers. So you're obviously expressing a bit of caution by not paying an interim dividend, but when you look at the numbers, the cash flow from operations doubled, the debt's halved, EBITDA bounced back dramatically. So how did you do that? And what does that tell investors about the characteristics of your business?
First, I think it's the strength of the business model, which consists of high margin recurring revenue streams, along with a reasonable cost base we have. It generates strong cash flow for us. Second, our baskets of products and services can be sold into a diverse customer base. So, most people think of restaurants for us, restaurants and pub, but our business is stretched to any commercial kitchen, including corporate dining, university stadiums, supermarkets, which of course are all complementary to our key customer base. Also, I think we all operate a pretty flat organizational structure, giving us good ability to adapt quickly. And I think, we presented 18 months ago the plan. We're going to focus on cash. We're going to focus on these other customers. We adapted to that. So I think those things combined have helped us through COVID. It's actually, I'm sure many businesses have done this. You come out of this a bit leaner, more better systems in place. You took the time, when we were a lot quieter, gives you more time to spend on internally in the business, adapting the system. So we've managed to reduce the number of staff we had while still getting back to pre-COVID levels. I also think we've adapted the model slightly in the UK, where our FOG business, the fats, oil and grease servicing business, we had sort of end of last year, we had 23 techs servicing that. We're now down to 10 techs employed servicing that. And we outsource a lot of the work to franchisees now, who perform it on a pay-per-job basis. So we've gone a more capital light model in the UK on that particular service. So it's enabled us to, do things a bit smarter, having the time to step away and do that. You're not always in, foot on the accelerator mode, driving sales. It enabled us to look inwardly a bit, change things, and we've come out a bit stronger. So I think that has enabled us to, improve the EBITDA. Our costs have lowered. They're obviously going to go up a little bit over time as we grow the top line, but not to where we were before. And it will be more revenue driven than anything else in our business.
I think the thing that stands out to me is the recurring nature of the business, the recurring revenues, which are really very valuable to investors. But we're not out of the woods yet, are we? Clearly, on the pandemic. I mean, you're not saying that. The world's not saying that. And we're coming up against problems that I suspect we wouldn't have thought of before the pandemic, and one of which you've already alluded to, which is staff. So how critical are they for you and your franchisees? How big's the problem, and what can you or are you doing about it?
So we're experiencing the problem more in the US than the UK right now. And the US is through we only directly employ about 15 people, so it's not affected us. We've got a great staff, a great team in the US, very tight. We work well together. The franchise owners out there employ a lot of techs right now, or did pre-COVID. Those franchise owners that had a lot of vans on the road, who kept a lot of their work and have kept their staff, haven't had an issue. Even if they have to add a couple more, you're topping up a little bit of what you got. Those franchise owners who had maybe 3, 4 vans had to let staff go, and you're then restarting post-COVID, it's been more of a struggle for, because there's several factors in the US that are coming into play. So unemployment in the US. So typically I live in Florida. Here it's a state thing. So in Florida, if you are unemployed, typically you get about $300 a week for 6 months, and then it ends. You go get a job. They extended the time period through COVID, quite rightly, because people were out of jobs. But the federal government topped it up by another $300 a week. So the people are getting $600 a week, 30 grand a year to sit at home. They're pretty comfortable with that. And the current administration extended that in January through to last week. It stopped in the US. So that took a lot of people out of the workforce who were quite happy to sit at home. And I'm sure the administration, when they came in January, didn't expect things to pick up quite as they did. You find Amazon, other delivery companies have scooped up a load of people at the level that we have technicians at, so taken them out of the market. There's also people who are unvaccinated, don't want to get out there and work. So there's a whole bunch of things that have changed the labour force for us that's made it more difficult to hire employees. A couple of months ago, we were hiring about 100 guys with our franchisees. We're now down to 45, so we're chipping away at it. We at corporate, the franchisor, we hired 2 full-time recruiters to help our franchisees find staff, because it's a numbers game. We place the ads in conjunction with the franchisee. They're busy. So you know what it's like. You might get 30 applicants for a job. They're busy. They might not return the calls, etc. We have the resource to be able to field every single one of those phone calls. We have a text program, texting them back, and we try and qualify these potential candidates and send them in front of the franchisee. So the franchisee, we can provide them with 3 qualified candidates. You pick one, you interview them, but we can do a bit of the grunt work at that front end. So we hire, and I imagine those 2 full-time staff doing that would stay with us till year end. I mean, we're really trying to hire a lot of people right now. And it takes a good month for somebody to get trained properly. They're active in the first week. They're active after a couple of weeks, but leaving them on their own with customers being comfortable takes a month. So, we are putting every resource into that and helping the franchisees. So it's trickier here than the UK because of the sheer numbers. In the UK, it's funny, both in the States and the UK, you found, and I'm sure this is the same for every business, during lockdown, people have taken a view on their lives and are happy to stick with their current business because I'm getting paid to sit at home, or a bit of furlough money. April this year, people coming out of it, I fancy a change. Whatever it is, I fancy a change. So you saw a bit of turmoil in the workforce back in April, May, settled down about June time. And I'm sure a lot of businesses saw that, just people fancied a bit of a change. And in fact, some of the people who went for pastures green have come back. It's not always better. But I think these people in their minds thought, I want a bit of a change in this. And in terms of, that's the employee side of it. In terms of franchising side, it's a double-edged sword as well. Nobody during COVID has really thought, I'm going to buy a franchise servicing commercial kitchens. They're dead right now. Now it's back. We're seeing, a better inflow of leads coming in. On the flip side, there's a lot of jobs out there with good pay. So some people who were going to have a life change have thought, you know what, I can get an extra 5-10 grand a year in this job over here right now, and it's safe. So you have a balance there. And you have that both in the UK and US. But overall, we are seeing an uptick in the number of franchise inquiries and guys who want that life change to run their own business.
Am I right in thinking also that you've changed the way you're doing telesales, and that's saved you money and got a better quality of staff? Is that right?
Well, so we've always had a good inside sales department in the States. So we support our franchisees by, the hard bit of anything is cold calling. So we have an inside sales department. We've had it for 10 years. Get on the phones, they call up potential targets in franchisees' territories and arrange for meetings for the franchisee to go see that customer. The franchisee is very good once they get in front of a customer, but going out cold calling is tough. That's the hard bit. So we do that for them. We actually recruited, we doubled the size of our department in December 19, ready for a big push, but then COVID hit. So we reduced it down to 3 people for COVID. And we did still gain about 1,000 customers during COVID, so they worked well. I was out for a beer with a friend of mine a few months ago, and he outsourced some telesales to a company out of the Philippines. And their experience in calling into the US have American accents, etc. So we trialed it for a couple of months, and the guys in the Philippines outperformed our guys in the States. They're really, really good. And they're more cost effective. They're $5 an hour instead of $25 an hour. So you can get a lot more bang for your buck. So, we have a plan in place. We would keep our 3 guys in the States. Each of them would have 3, you want to call them bookers from abroad. They would then deal with the guys in the States. He would deal with our franchisees and pre-qualified lead with customers, make sure they're good. But we have a plan, a cost-effective plan to really accelerate growth next year. The problem is we're too busy right now. Our franchisees are playing catch-up with the work they have, need to staff up. But really, probably beginning of next year, we have the tools to accelerate a bit of growth in the US here to help our franchisees grow.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Finally, can you remind us of how big the market opportunity is for you by territory and what the competition is?
So, in terms of the opportunities, franchising wise in the US, I've always said it, we have 140 odd franchisees in the US. We really want to end up with 100. We want to end up with 100 guys with 10, 15 vans each, not 1,000 franchisees with 1 van each. That's the kind of principle of what we have. So in terms of territories, we have coverage in most major cities now, probably all major cities in the US. The territories might not have all been sold in those cities, but we have decent guys in those territories. So our driving force is to expand our existing franchise owners. So you'll still see franchise sales, but it's not been our driving force for probably 10 years. And to give you a flavor, I was looking at it the other day internally. In 2011, we had about 120 odd franchisees. We only have 140 odd now. The network revenue then was about 10 million a year. We're up to 60 million a year now. So you get a feel for we're helping our existing franchise owners grow. So in terms of potential, we're putting all our weight behind our existing franchise owners expanding. We have less than 2% market penetration right now. There's so much to go at for us. And, the way to do that is to get better franchise owners out there, or promote the good ones and get better ones into the network who can respond to the inside sales support and really help drive their markets. That's the way to go do it, because when a smaller guy gets full up with work and is comfortable, it doesn't help us. We want guys who want to build vans beyond that. So that's the way we drive it in the US. In the UK, again, less than 2% market penetration there. The water authorities are enforcing the laws a lot more. We've seen it this year. They're fining companies, and we're then working with the chains, with the companies to make sure they're compliant. And you're seeing that hot up in the UK. So that's a driving force for us there. And I think that's how we get more market penetration in the UK. Germany and Europe, very early days. I'm not sure market penetration, very, very minute over there. We have a lot of scope to grow there. I think that, a lot of the percentage-wise will grow quickly in Europe. In terms of being an overall effect on our business, the real top-line growth comes US, UK still, whilst Europe for the next 5 years is all about building that platform for us to expand more quickly later.
Jason, thank you for your time. I want to congratulate you on navigating what I think must have been the trickiest business challenges any of us have ever seen in our lifetimes. And it looks like there's an exciting future ahead for Filta. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thanks, Keith. Nice seeing you again.
And to our viewers, please don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. We appreciate your time. If you have any thoughts on what we've discussed here today, please do join the discussion and share your comments below and hit that like button. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on Hardman Talks next time. Thank you very much.